Hey there guys, what's up? Ragtter here, welcoming you back to Ladder Anxiety. Competitive games can be really scary and really intimidating, but they do not have to be. And I'm going to show you that we can have a nice, relaxing time on Pokémon Showdown. And I'm going to be playing in the NU tier tonight because it's pretty fun, and aside from a couple random battles, not to say the random tier, but a few random excursions into this tier every now and then, I've never really played. So I'm very curious, I'm very excited, and we're going to have ourselves a good time whether we win or lose. So my opponent starts off with a Swellow, and I've led off with Rhydon. Now, I'm a little suspicious, but I'm gonna go with my gut, and I'm going to get up some Stealth Rocks. Now, Rhydon's gonna come up. My rocks are gonna get up. I was half expecting to go, or my opponent to go into the Sand Slash there, but no big deal either way. Now this Kadabra's probably planning something, so I'm going to go out to my Lantern, who is pretty specially bulky, and we'll see what this Kadabra wants to do. Goes for the Energy Ball, which does do a lot to poor Lantern, but I'm going to be able to get off a Volt Switch. So my opponent goes for another Energy Ball. I'm going to get a Volt Switch. That was a critical hit. Kind of unfortunate, but hey. That's the business we're in, and I'm going to go into Tauros. He has no Ghost type on his team, or her team rather, sorry. Making assumptions. So I can go for a Rock Climb. The worst that can happen is a switch to Archeops or Cradily. But anything that's going to come in on this Tauros is not going to appreciate the damage, so I think I'm in a pretty safe spot here. Although one thing that concerns me is if my opponent is running an Endeavor Pokemon, like perhaps on that Swellow, because then my Tauros would not be quite so useful. But Kadabra is going to go down, and my opponent decided she didn't want to come in and finish the battle, so that's okay. We'll just exit out of this battle and we'll look for a different one. No need to be upset. Now, this team looks pretty threatening. Looks like a lot of Eviolites though. So if I can take care of that Swoobat, I should be able to do some real devastating work with Old Sock. So I'm going to lead off with Rhydon, and my opponent decides they're going to lead off with Girder. I hope this isn't like an immediate setup Pokemon, but, well, there you go, yes it is. I'm going to get off my Stealth Rocks immediately. I don't want to status this thing in the off chance that it, well, I say off chance, in the likelihood that it is running Guts. So I think instead, what I'll do is I'm going to go into Old Lantern here, and my opponent's going to show the Drain Punch. It did do quite a hefty amount, not going to lie. I think what I'll end up doing is I'm going to Volt Switch into Rotom, and then from Rotom, I'll Volt Switch back into Lantern. So my opponent does go for the Drain Punch again, and I'm wondering at this point, could I perhaps pick up the KO with Rotom? I'm guessing this thing carries the knockoff, so I'm not going to chance it. Let's go for the Volt Switch. Maybe I could've. Oh dear, that's something to think about. Well, I'm going to go into Lantern either way. Now I know I can at least pick up the Revenge Kill because of this thing's. Goes for the Fire Punch. So I think I've actually checkmated this Pokemon, because if it switches back in, it's going to lose to the Stealth Rocks. Oh no, it has Mach Punch. Huh. Well played by my opponent. Very well played. Well, it's time for Rotom to come back out. And Rotom's going to get off a Volt Switch. My opponent loses their Girder. I lost my Lantern. So I think that was a pretty even trade all in all. Let's go out to Vivillon and sleep something. Sleep whatever my opponent wants to set up and try and get off a Quiver Dance. That Combuskin is a worry though. I'm very concerned by that potential threat. Has Combuskin gained its fighting type yet? I'm actually not entirely sure. Does this thing have... okay, no. Oh, it should have Unaware, that's why my opponent brought it in. Plus, the flying type. So I'm going to go for the Sleep Powder. Immediately the Swoobat's going to go for the Calm Mind. My Sleep Powder is going to connect. I'm going to go out to Rhydon. Oh, my opponent switches, goes into Combuskin. That's actually very beneficial for me because I go out to Rhydon, and I'm going to be able to Rock Blast now. So let's just go for it. Let's go for the Rock Blast, and the Combuskin's going to get off a Power-Up Punch, but Rhydon is quite bulky. But my Rock Blast is going to miss, and that's less than optimal. Combuskin gets off its Speed Boost. Let's go for another Rock Blast. Because of the getting off another Protect, that's okay though. My opponent can get as much speed as they want. Hopefully, Rhydon will be able to muscle through these power-up punches, land a solid Rock Blast. 1, 2, 3, one more. 3 times is the charm. Let's not take any chances now, let's just go straight for the Earthquake. So I'm wondering if my opponent was predicting the switch there, because they went for the Fire Punch. Huh, that's very peculiar to me. So this Zangoose is more than likely looking to pick up the revenge kill. I'm just going to go for the Earthquake again. Rhydon is going to lose its Eviolite, but I'm going to get off. I'm going to be able to pick up the KO onto the Zangoose. So I'm wondering what my opponent's answer is going to be now. Do they even have an answer for the Rhydon? And you know what? If they don't, that's perfectly okay. Because, well, there you go. Tweakatronic forfeited. Tweakatronic played their best, and I think I just had the better team matchup in that scenario. Rhydon was able to do a lot to a good chunk of that team, so you can't really fault my opponent for that. Do we go for one more? We're not at the 10-minute mark just yet. Let's see if we can't find one more battle. So, against this team, it's a pretty interesting looking team. I gotta commend my opponent for that. I think a safe lead would be Lantern. If I lead with Lantern, then I can get the slow Volt Switch into something more optimal depending on what my opponent wants to go for. So, we've got Hope the Mesprit out here. And actually, I can go for Thunder Wave. So let's do that first. Let's go for the Thunder Wave. Onto these Pokemon, because the only thing that my opponent has to take these is that Rotom. Now, yeah, let's go for the Volt Switch. I can maybe go into Rotom and then start using Hex, since this thing, or since this Mesprit rather, it is not just a thing. It is a living, breathing pixie Pokemon. That was a crit. That did not do very much damage. Since Rotom does carry Hex, I should be able to do a lot to this Mesprit. Oh, but it is going to go for the U-turn, so let's see what my opponent brings in response. My Rotom is pretty speedy, though, so I'm not too concerned in the slightest bit. If anything, I think my opponent's team is kind of threatened by Rotom, with the exception of the Liepard, so there you go. Now, probably, more than likely, actually, a Pursuit user, so let's go for the Volt Switch. No, a knockoff user. I should have been more careful about that, but now we know. And I think, in retaliation, I can go into Sawk, and I'm going to go for a knockoff of my own, because I'm expecting my opponent to bring out their Rotom to try and block the close combat that Liepard would obviously not enjoy taking. And while Liepard does carry that air balloon, it will be taking double damage from the knockoff. Or, is it double? I can't actually remember anymore. So Liepard's going to switch out of here, and Garbodor's actually going to be coming in. So I get my knockoff. The Rocky Helmet gets going. Oh, it's 1.5, not double, sorry. Let's go for it again. I think this should KO now. With a Choice Band, Garbodor's defenses aren't the greatest, as I recall. But then again, I haven't looked for a while. We can actually find that out for ourselves. Well, we do pick up the KO. Well, that's okay. Aftermath is going to hurt my Sawk, though. So now we are 1 for 1, but I have a very, very weakened Sawk. But my opponent has a very, very weakened Mesprit, so you take what you can get, I suppose. If I can get rid of that Primeape, I think I can sweep with Tauros. So that's something I really have to consider. Maybe playing around Vivillon could ensure me a sweet victory. I think setting up on that Ludicolo is probably my best bet for victory there. But, again, if we can't walk away with a win, then that's perfectly okay. We did get 2 forfeits earlier, so whatever my opponent decides to go for, I am not upset. Now, that Rotom definitely outspeeds me. I do have a bit of HP, but probably not enough to take any of Rotom's attacks. So I'm going to switch into Lantern, and I want to see what this Rotom has in store. It goes for the Shadow Ball, so it wasn't planning any shenanigans, it was just going to go straight and try to pick up the KO. I'm going to go for the Scald, and I'm expecting the Ludicolo to be brought in, but if Ludicolo... No, he's just going to go for the Shadow Ball. Let's see how much a Scald's going to do. Not a whole lot, but I do manage to pick up the burn. Now that's very handy. So with that in mind, let's go into Tauros, because I'm expecting the Shadow Ball again. And now, I can go for a Zen Headbutt and nail pretty much anything on my opponent's team, because I am faster than this. Actually, I think I'm faster than everything on my opponent's team, bar the Liepard. So definitely a good reason to keep Tauros around, I'll tell you what. It's funny that my Raging Bull is faster than the Red Flash. So my opponent goes into Hope the Mesprit. It takes the Zen Headbutt. My opponent's probably very familiar with this set. I'm going to go for a substitute. Maybe block some status, see what my opponent wants to go for. My opponent goes for the knockoff. Let's go for the Rock Climb and see how much damage it does. I almost pick up the KO. But my opponent is going to be able to knock off my Life Orb. Very unfortunate. But let's go for one last Rock Climb and finish off the Mesprit. With that out of the way, that's a big threat to Sock done and gone with. And I'm pretty enthusiastic about that. But Tauros is very weakened now, and that's pretty poor on my part. Tauros is an essential part of this team, and I should probably be doing a better job of keeping it in good health. But, again, it's not the biggest of deals. If Tauros goes down, then Tauros goes down, and that was my playing versus my opponent's playing. You can't really change that kind of thing. So, this Liepard... Let's imagine the Liepard wants to go for a Fake Out, perhaps. So I'm going to go into Lantern, and I'm probably going to let Lantern just go down here if I can. Now Lantern's going to go for the Torment, so I can't use the same move twice. Let's see if I can't survive an attack from the Liepard, if this Liepard even wants to stay in. Goes for the knockoff. Was intent on staying in, of course. How fast is Liepard? Actually, without a Choice Scarf, Tauros is faster. And I think I pick up the KO. So let's go Tauros. Let us show this Liepard what we're made of. Down goes the Liepard. Again, another big threat to Tauros completely out of the way. Tauros has definitely been the MVP of this entire episode. What a fantastic Pokemon. Though that Primeape on my opponent's side is scaring me. I have no idea what item Primeape runs. I have no idea, actually off the top of my head, I don't even know what Primeape's stats are. I have no idea if it's good or not. One thing I definitely want to do with this Ludicolo though, as I know Ludicolo's pretty bulky, I want to go for the Endeavor to try and reduce its HP as much as possible, so then I can maybe bring in Sock or Vivillon and pick up the KO in return. So my Endeavor's going to knock it down to about 21%. That tells me that Ludicolo has about the same HP that my Tauros does, and that's pretty useful information. So I think now I can go into Vivillon. I'm going to take a lot of damage for that, but if I can... I'm going to go for the Quiver Dance. I think it's a worthwhile risk. If I can get this Ludicolo to KO itself with the Life Orb, It does go down to 1% HP, which is very unfortunate, but I think I can still do this. Ludicolo. It's definitely faster than Rhydon, there's no doubt about that. But I've got my Eviolite up, so let's just see about getting off one Earthquake. Nope, not even going to get that much, but Ludicolo does go down in the end. So that's something we can all be thankful for. So let's see how Sock handles these last two Pokemon. It's frustrated the Primeape. I have no idea what abilities it has, or what ability it normally runs, what its plans are. I'm just going to... Well, Sock does go down in the end. Primeape was faster. And my opponent played an excellent game. We were both very back and forth there, but I can't be upset for having a good game. Even though I lost, I did manage to force 2 people to forfeit earlier. So we had a pretty good day all in all, I think. 2 out of 3. Definitely nothing wrong with that. If you have enjoyed this episode of Ladder Anxiety, please let me know. Leave a like and a comment down below telling me how much fun you've had, and I will see you next time, as we return to Pokemon Showdown to chill out, relax, and play a little Pokemon. Until then, take care, and have a good one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye!